Good morning, everyone. My name is Micki. Welcome to my studio, and we'll get started with gentle yoga. So I have a mat and 2 blocks, a strap, a blanket, and a bolster. If you don't have a strap, you could always use like a towel, like a hand towel, or you could use a belt. You don't have to have an official yoga strap. And then bolster, you could use a pillow in lieu of a bolster. So let's go ahead and start in a restorative shape. So I like to use blocks to help me get up and down from the ground. It's so helpful. So we'll take the blanket, and then my favorite pose has been to do a little heart opener. So you can roll up the blanket, just a very small roll to go underneath your heart. I'm going to lay it on the mat so that I'll rest right behind my heart on the blanket roll. And then allow yourself to come down and find that just right place for you. You can shimmy a little side to side. And when you arrive, you might sigh out through the mouth and just allow your shoulders to drape down. Maybe you want to walk your feet as wide as the mat and tent the knees together, or you could bring the soles of the feet to touch. Open the knees wide, and then you might bring some supports underneath the knees. So whichever works best for you this morning. And just remember, you always have the ability to change it up. All of the things I'm offering are just suggestions, and since you are your own very best teacher, you can always feel free to do what works best for you. As you begin to settle in, you might just imagine your body is plugging into the earth. Allow the nutrients, allow all the resources to bubble up to the surface and support you. As you relax all of your effort, you can just begin to tune into the breath. Start to cultivate gratitude. You might imagine that same bubbling up, coming from your heart center, bubbling out through your body. Little bursts of gratitude for this amazing body, for the fact that you took this time to show up for yourself. If you have a specific intention for your practice today, you can bring that intention to mind. And then allow it to plant itself at your heart center. Maybe you can imagine that intention like a little bubble machine. And just allow it to rest there at your heart. You can allow that intention to start to fill the rest of the body, circulating with the blood. Today's theme for our class is the very first of the niyamas. So we have spent time focusing on the yamas, which are yoga's ethical practices, and there are 5 of them that are about how yoga suggests we can best interact with the rest of the world. Today, we're starting on the first niyama, which is yoga's instructions on how we might best interact with ourselves. And the first one is called Saucha. That means purity. So I just have a short reading from the book by Deborah Adele. She says, the jewel of Saucha, or purity, invites us to purify our bodies, our thoughts, and our words. As we purify ourselves physically and mentally, we become less cluttered and heavy. Purification brings about a brightness and a clarity to our essence. So if the idea of Saucha, or purity, speaks to you, you might use that as an intention for your practice today. And maybe you can contemplate in what ways you want to purify the body. Maybe physically or maybe mentally. And then from this place on your back, if you're feeling like the blanket roll is enough for now, you're welcome to roll onto one side and move it out of the way at any time. If your knees are open wide to the side, you can sweep your hands down to your thighs, closing the knees up towards the sky, and then go ahead and walk the feet out as wide as your mat. You might cactus the arms or allow the hands to rest on the belly. And then we'll just allow the knees to gently float from side to side. Sending some nice deep breaths into the hips. And if your feet are as wide as your mat, you might notice that top knee floating down towards the bottom foot. And maybe you want to practice saying no and increase the twist by gently turning the nose in the opposite direction as the knees. Thinking about what can you release that no longer serves you. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath on each side. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll meet back up in center. And you can either roll onto one side or rock and roll up into a seat. So once you find your comfortable seat, you might take your blanket and then make it into like a little pillow shape here to come to sit on. And then once you have your hips a little propped up, it can be easier to come to a cross-legged position. You could always extend one leg long. In fact, actually, we are going to start with one leg long. So go ahead and extend your right leg, and you can bring your left foot to the inner thigh. From here, we'll inhale to grow taller, and then you can take a moment to gaze over at your right foot. Pressing your left hand into your left knee, lengthening through the spine, and then on your next exhale, you can hinge forward and start to bend over that front leg. Maybe you walk your hands out in front, or this could be an opportunity to use some kind of block support to bring the hands onto the blocks. Another option would be to use the strap around the ball of your foot. So find whatever works best for you. I'm kind of preferring to frame my foot with my hands. And just allow your heart to melt towards your knee. On the next inhale breath, you can walk the hands back up to center, We'll move the strap off to the side and then bring your torso back to center, and we'll inhale to sweep the arms up and overhead. On your next exhale, you can drop your right arm onto your right leg and then start to slide the right hand down the right leg as you reach the left fingertips up and overhead. If this is too hard on the shoulder, you could even just tuck that hand around behind you. And you might send your gaze up towards the sky or out in front, or you could exhale and drop your gaze down to your leg. Maybe if it feels okay for the neck, you might gently shake the head no. Inhaling to lift. Exhale to lower. On the next inhale breath, we'll rise back up to center. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. And then you can start to turn your torso towards your left leg. You might release your hands so that you can bring your right hand onto your left knee. And maybe you bring the block behind you to have a support for your back hand, your left hand. And you can turn your gaze over your left shoulder. On your inhale, you might lengthen a bit through your spine, and on your exhale, maybe you can twist a tiny bit deeper to the left. On the next exhale breath, allow your chin to trace the front of your chest, and then you can turn just your gaze over your right shoulder. Maybe peek down at your right toes. You might wiggle your toes, rotate your ankle, waving high to your foot. And then we'll come back to stillness. Inhale to release. And then you can lean back. Maybe you press your hands on the earth and then switch out your legs. So now you have your left leg long, your right foot on towards your inner thigh. We'll go ahead and turn to face the left foot. And you might, again, just wave high, wiggle the toes, rotate the ankle. And then we'll inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale to start to fold over that leg. Maybe you bring the blocks out in front or press your hands on the earth. Another option would be to use that strap to wrap around your foot. So finding whatever works for you in this position. With your inhale breath, you might lengthen a bit through your spine. And on your exhale, maybe you're able to find just a little bit deeper fold. Allowing your heart to fall towards your knee. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then on your next inhale, you can rise through center. We'll bring the torso forward. Inhale to reach the arms up and overhead. And then exhale. Go ahead and land the left hand on the left leg. And maybe you just slightly start to fold over. Getting a stretch on the outside of your right body. From your fingertips to the base of your hip. You could also tuck that hand behind you if that would feel more comfortable for the shoulder. And then you might start those gentle head shakes. Practicing saying no. Exhale to lower your gaze. Inhale to lift it back up towards your hand or towards the sky. Finding that gentle rotation in your neck. On the next inhale, we'll rise to center. Exhale, draw your hands to heart center and allow your chin to bow towards your heart. We'll inhale to lift the gaze back up to center. Then we're going to find that twist. So bringing your left hand towards your right knee. You might use the block behind you. Inhaling to lengthen through your spine and exhaling to turn your gaze behind your right shoulder. With your inhale, lengthening the spine, and with the exhale, maybe turning just a tiny bit more to the right. On your next exhale, allow your chin to trace the front of your chest as you nod or bow your head towards your heart. And then you can allow the chin to trace that semicircle across the chest and turn your gaze past your left shoulder. Taking some slow, steady, deep breaths, noticing where you can soften. And then on the next exhale, we'll release that side. Go ahead and come to a cross-legged position. And you can either stay seated for cat-cow, maybe even in a chair or on the ground, seated on the ground. Or if you prefer to do your cat-cow in tabletop, you can go ahead and come to hands and knees. And you might use your blanket then underneath your knees for a little extra padding. I'm on a lot of carpet, so I'm not going to actually use the blanket for padding. From here, if you'd like some extra support underneath the forearms, instead of using your hands on the mat, if you have any sensitivity in your wrist, you can always bring the forearms onto blocks as a modification, still coming into a tabletop position. From your tabletop, or you can just come all the way onto forearms on the mat too. That would be another option. So from your tabletop position, go ahead and inhale, drop the belly. Exhale to round into the spine. You can go ahead and take a few rounds of cat and cow. Allow yourself an opportunity to move at your own pace. Maybe you want to draw a circle with the belly button. Or find any other movements here that would feel good in your body. As you move your spine, you might just cultivate some awe and wonder at the design of your amazing spine and all of the different directions it can move. And you can move this way seated as well. Go ahead and reverse the direction of your circle if that's what you're doing, or find another movement that feels good to you. Tuning in to your breath, just exploring any sensations. If there's a particular place of interest you'd like to hold for a breath, you're welcome to do whatever serves you today. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath wherever you're at. And then we are going to come on to forearms to give the wrists a little break. So from here, you can glide your right leg back, tuck your right toes under, press your heel towards the mat. So you're kind of in a modified forearm plank here. You might feel a nice deep stretch through the back of your calf. You could also do this from your palms as well, if you still felt like being on the wrists. Take a nice deep breath through the back of your leg, and then we'll return the right knee to the mat and extend the left leg back, tucking the toes under, pressing the heel towards the mat, finding length through the back of your calf. Allow the breath to cascade down the back of the leg. Maybe you notice any subtle differences from left to right. From here, we're going to turn this into a forearm plank. So you could soften your left knee down to the ground and then glide that right knee back to meet it. So now you're in a forearm plank on your knees. You might play around with lifting one knee at a time. Or maybe you want to try out lifting both knees. Take a few nice deep breaths in your forearm plank, and then you can soften your belly down to the ground. We'll go ahead and extend both legs back, untucking the toes, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat. And right now you're in a Sphinx pose. So the shoulders are stacking over the elbows. Your palms might be pressing into the mat. You could start to gently traction your hands back energetically as you reach the heart forward, finding that nice back bend. On the next exhale, you might turn your gaze over your right shoulder. Inhale back to center. Exhale, turn your gaze past your left shoulder. Inhale back to center. And then on the exhale, allow the shoulders to melt away from the ears. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then on your next exhale, you can soften your left ear down to the mat. Extend your arms back behind you with your palms facing up. And just allow yourself here a moment to rest, softening all of your effort. Feel the earth rise to support you. You might feel the hug of gravity. You can soften in between the two. On the next inhale, we'll lift the gaze to center, lift the heart, lift the chest, lift the arms, lift the legs, coming to balance on the belly. For Locust Pose, Shalabhasana. Take some nice deep breaths here. Extending your exhale. On the next exhale, you can turn your gaze to the left and once more soften all of your effort. Allow your right temple to rest. Soften your glutes. Soften your arms. Feeling the earth bubble up to support you. Take a moment to delight in this time of rest. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then you can bring your palms underneath your shoulders. Let's inhale to lift the heart for baby cobra. Strengthening through the spine. And you might even Hover the hands to make sure that you're using the strength of your spine and your core to lift your heart. Exhale to release, softening your forehead to the mat. And then on the next inhale, you can tuck the toes under and press yourself back up to a tabletop position. We're going to make our way to standing next. So you can use whatever would be helpful to come to stand. If you'd like to take a downward dog in between, maybe you want to use something to support underneath your hands. And you could also do a downward facing dog with a chair, I realize, or even at the wall. So either take any version of downward dog that would feel good to you. I'm going to use blocks underneath my hands on the lowest setting with the heel of my hand right against the block. So you can tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, and maybe take a moment to pedal your heels. As I was mentioning, you could take a chair for downward dog. So if you can see me, you could use this chair here or a stool. And then have your hands on either side. Walk your hips back, lower your heart a little towards the ground and extend through your back and your arms. This can take a lot of pressure off of the wrists. Whenever you feel ready, we'll walk or hop to a forward fold. And you can bring your hands on top of blocks here. Let's inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. And one more time. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. And then you can start to sink your hips back. Imagine that there was a chair behind you that you were going to sit on. And then start to engage with your core. And you can lift your heart and your torso and bring your hands to your heart center for chair pose, Katasana, which also means fierce pose. If you'd like, you can inhale to extend your arms out in front. And then maybe on your next exhale, you want to flutter the hands back behind you. And maybe you want to lift your heels to hover, coming into a drinking bird. Take a nice deep breath here. On your next exhale, you can land the heels. And then we'll inhale, sweep the arms up, lengthen through the spine, straighten the legs. And then exhale, bring the hands to the heart center. Let's come into Tadasana, mountain pose. So from here, just imagine your feet are able to root down into the earth. So allow little sprouts of root to form off of your feet and extend deep down into the earth. Allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. Slightly tuck your tailbone. And just draw your belly button a little towards your spine. You might close down the eyes and then revisit your intention for your practice at your heart center. Allow your chin to slightly tuck towards your chest, lengthening through the back of your spine and your neck. And then on the next inhale, we'll flutter the eyes open and you can sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. And then we're going to open the arms out wide to the sides. And you can start to turn to the left, reaching the right hand forward, the left hand back, and you might gaze back at your back hand. Inhale back to center, and we'll exhale, switch it to the other side. So turning just the torso, not really the hips, but just the torso, the thoracic spine, reaching the left hand forward, and the right hand back. Take a nice deep breath here. Take one more nice deep breath, and on your next exhale, you can release it back to center. And then we'll inhale to reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, go ahead and cactus the arms, cactus the elbows down, and lift the heart. Take a nice deep breath. And then we'll inhale, reach the arms back up and overhead. Exhale once more, cactus the arms, lifting the heart. Take a nice deep breath. And then we'll inhale to reach the arms back up and overhead. And one more time, cactus the arms. This time you might stick out the tongue. Scrunch up the eyes. Exhale through the mouth for lion's breath. Then we'll release the hands down to your hips. And you can come to the mat on its wide setting, or its long setting, I should say. And we'll bring the blocks out in front of you. You can bring your hands to your hips and then step your feet out wide. We'll slightly pigeon toe the toes in. So our heels are really rooted down to the earth. And then we're going to come into a 5-pointed star. So you can extend your arms out wide to the sides. Lift the heart, lift the chest, expand the body in all directions. And then on the next exhale, you can either bring your hands to your hips, or you might try interlacing your hands behind you. You could also just tug on the edge of your shirt, or maybe you use a strap in between the hands. That could be nice for the shoulders. So you could pick up that strap and hold it in between the hands. If your hands are interlaced, just open through your chest. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. And then we're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. So lift your heart. And then on the next exhale, you can lead with your heart as you hinge from the hips to come into your wide-legged forward fold. You might let your hands continue to rest on your low back, or maybe it would feel okay for the shoulders to peel the hands away and just allow gravity to help open through the shoulders and the chest as your knuckles gently fall overhead. Take a nice deep breath here. Noticing where you can soften. And then on your next exhale, you can float the hands back to the low back. Release the fingers. Allow the fingers to trace the back of the legs as you allow your arms to fall towards the ground. You can press your palms onto blocks, and we'll inhale here for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. One more time. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Go ahead and inhale again for halfway lift. And then we'll pivot. So now the toes are going to come out to 45 degrees. So you can pivot onto the heels or pivot onto the balls of the toes. That's going to allow your knees to open up a little wide to the side. Coming into a horse squat or goddess squat. And then you can bring your hands up onto thighs, lift your torso, and then imagine you're sitting on a horse. And you can keep your spine long out in front at a diagonal. On the next exhale, we'll allow the right shoulder to fall towards the left knee. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist over to the left. or the right, bringing the left shoulder to the right knee. And then let's inhale back to center, and you can bring your torso up tall. So now your tailbone is pointing down towards the ground, and you're coming into this goddess squat. From here, we'll inhale to reach the arms up and overhead, and then exhale, you can cactus the arms. Now let's inhale, lengthen through the legs, reach the hands up towards the sky, and then exhale, maybe with that lion's breath, coming back into your goddess squat. The arms cactus to the sides. Go ahead and try that 2 more times. Inhale to lengthen, reaching up, exhale. Coming into your goddess squat. You can come any amount. You don't have to come down as far. Make it gentle. 1 more time. Inhale to reach. Exhale. And then you can hold your goddess squat for a breath. When you're ready, we'll inhale, lengthen. Bring your hands to your hips. And you can heel toe your feet back in and underneath your hips. Any amount that feels right for you. From here, we'll bring our arms out to the sides, and then you can just start to allow your arms to graze the sides of your body. A little bit of a twist. Allowing your arms to gently massage your back body. Just shaking it all off. When you're ready, you can release that. And then while we're standing, let's do a little bit of a foot massage. So maybe you have a tennis ball you can grab. Forgot to mention that we could use that at the beginning of class. And if you don't want to do the foot massage, that's okay. I actually have 2 tennis balls together. Is that going to work? In a sock. Really only need 1. So I really love to just massage the bottom of my foot with a tennis ball, or you can use a racket ball. At one of the yoga studios I teach at, we have these pinky balls that are like high bounce balls. And if you don't have a tennis ball, but you still want to work on stretching with the foot, you could stretch the top side of the foot, the ankle, by rooting down with one leg and then tucking the toes under. And feel free to find some support for your balance. Take a nice deep breath wherever you're at. Sending gratitude all the way down into the feet, the ankles, and just noticing any sensations that are coming up. When you feel complete on this side, go ahead and return the bottom of your feet to the mat and take a moment to tune your breath into your feet, sending it all the way down to your feet and just noticing the differences from left to right. And then when you're ready, we'll blink our eyes open and you can try the other side. So feel free to find a chair or wall support. And if you have any kind of tennis ball or racket ball, you can work on massaging the bottom of your foot. You can also just sit down and get out some nice arnica or massage oil. Just work on massaging your foot by hand too. Really nice. If you prefer to do that ankle stretch, you might release the tennis ball and then you're just going to tuck the toes under And find a stretch for the top of your foot, your ankle. Sending nice deep breaths and gratitude all the way to the feet. And just noticing what you notice, the differences from left to right. Whenever you're ready, you can release that. Once more, plant your feet on the mat. And then close your eyes for a moment in Tadasana. Revisit your intention at your heart center. Allow it to radiate through the body. And then we'll blink the eyes open and get ready for a balancing pose, tree pose. And realize you can also use any supports to help you with balance, maybe coming to the wall. So start to bring our breath down into our left leg, and you can peel the right heel off of the mat. And we'll open the right knee out to the right, and you can just bring the heel to your ankle. Actually, I think that feels really good. It's kind of like a little bit of a pressure point. With your toes on the mat, that would give for a little bit more support. Or you can bring your sole of the foot to your calf, or jump it over your knee to your upper thigh, which I don't prefer to do that way personally. So find whatever would work best for you. And realize you could also use a block instead. You wanted to bring your foot onto a block, that would also work. So find what works best for you and your body today. Just don't press your foot against your knee, please. And then let's invite our hands to meet at heart center. Feeling your feet rooted down into the earth, you can start to look forward for a dristi on the ground or at the horizon. And then we'll peel the 3 middle fingers open. Allow your intention to start to bubble up into your hands. And then you might lift that lotus flower up into the universe. For Vrikshasana, tree pose. On the next exhale, you can bring the thumb and the first finger together. Spread your other fingers out wide, and then allow your hands to cascade down to your sides. Let's once more release our tree pose. Step the feet out a little wide, and you can shake it all off. Like a palm tree. When you're ready, we'll come back to center, and we're going to get ready for the other side. So either with support of the block, maybe bring the block right next to your right foot if you're going to use it. Start to root down into your right foot, and then you can peel your left heel off of the mat. Just trying to show that my heel is peeled off of the mat. You could stay here, or maybe you want to open the left leg out to the left, either planting your toes on the mat with your heel at your ankle, or your foot on your calf, or maybe jumping over the knee, bringing your foot up to your inner thigh. Some people reach down and grasp hold the ankle. I see other people doing that. You can bring your hands to your hips now, leveling your hips. Or maybe you invite your hands to meet at your heart center, finding a dristi, a soft focal point, either on the floor or at the horizon. And then you can peel the middle 3 fingers open into your lotus mudra. Plant your seed of your intention in the palms of your hands, and then allow it to flutter away out into the universe. You can bring your thumb and your first finger together. And then open your fingers out wide. Allow your arms to cascade down to your sides. And then we'll once more shake it all off. Now we're going to make our way into our final resting pose. So maybe you'd like to come through a downward facing dog or any other way. If you'd like to come into down dog with the blocks, you can bring the blocks on the high setting or the low setting, and then step your feet back. Maybe you want to bend into the knees and take a moment to hover the knees over the earth, and then softly set them down. If there are any last shapes you'd like to make before your final rest, you're welcome to explore those now. And if you'd like support for your final resting pose, feel free to pad underneath the knees with a bolster or pillow. And just make yourself comfortable for your final rest. You might take a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze. Relax the forehead and the eyelids. Release the hinge of your jaw. Once more, feel the earth and all of its resources rise to meet you. Feel the weight of gravity hugging you to the earth. And we'll just come back to this idea of Saucha purity. And I'll just close with some words by Deborah Adele. You can just allow these words to wash over you. You don't have to think too hard about them. Just allow them to rain down, land where they may. She said, as we purify ourselves from the heaviness and clutter of toxins, distractions, and scatteredness, we gain clarity to meet each moment with integrity and freshness. We become more pure in our relationship with each moment. There is a great energy that lies mostly dormant within each of us. This is the energy of consciousness or awakening. Whatever form purifying takes, it always begins with an intention to lighten the load we are carrying. The loads weighing down our body, mind, and spirit. The guideline of purity invites us to move into ease, to do what it takes to get rid of this heaviness wherever we find it in our lives. Forgiveness of self and others is the most generous gift we can give ourselves. As you rest, you might imagine any thoughts are like passing clouds. You can notice them, observe them, practice letting them go. You find your mind is wandering to any thoughts of the past or plans for the future, you could just invite yourself back into an awareness of your breath. With your inhales, you might bring your awareness into your heart space. And imagine that intention that you set, your sankalpa. It's that little bubble factory. Inhaling produces more activity, and exhale might allow you to pause. Feeling the circulation in your body. Allowing your intention to be mixed with gratitude. Notice in the body if you can soften even 10% more. Softening your forehead, softening your eyelids, softening your jaw. Continue to scan the body, inviting it to soften. You can begin to deepen your breath now. Coming back to your heart center. Imagine with each inhale, the heart is like a balloon. You can just inflate it a tiny bit more, increasing your capacity to give and receive love from your heart. And then you can start to invite some movements into your fingers, into your toes, gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. And then allow for a long body stretch, reaching your arms up past your ears, stretching your legs long. And when you're ready, you can roll onto one side, finding a fetal position. Resting your head against the support of your upper arm. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. Inviting the hands to meet at your heart center. You're welcome to join me in chanting one round of Om and then singing together 3 rounds of Shanti, 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 which means peace, peace, peace. Peace for ourselves, peace to each other, and peace for the rest of the world. Go ahead and exhale all of your breath out. And then we'll inhale together for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You can allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. Such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. Thank you so much for being here today with me. Namaste. Wow, my legs almost fell asleep there in that supported heroes pose. Thanks, everyone.